everyone. As you may have noticed on the ad that I put out, my favorite show was coming out on April 4th, 2026. Well, if you're listening to this on the date that it comes out, it would be April 1st. In other words, April Fools. My name is Phil, and you're listening to The Lip. I will have to give it to everybody who probably realized by now, considering that every year since I started and had actually April as one of the months that I was recording, which would have been starting in 2022, that I had an April Fool's show. Of course, the show actually began in 2021, so in May of 2021, so I didn't have a chance to do that show or the mindset to even consider it. But every year since, I have done something on April Fools. And as many of you may know, it is the origin for my Fact or Fiction show. Because what would be a better show to do on April Fools than something where I'm trying to fool you? That's pretty much the nature of the day, correct? Correct. And that's where the idea for the Fact or Fiction show came from for me. And this year will be no different. Unfortunately, for those of you who enjoy listening to a show on Saturday or the weekend, I will have to tell you that I'm sorry. This week, the show will not come out on Saturday, but it will still have that weekly feel because, well, April Fool's Day or April 1st is still going to be on the weekly schedule. And if you had listened to the show the previous week on March 28th, 2026, you would have been able to listen to my second part of conversation with Patrick Houston, the owner of Zenith Transports. Love the guy, had a great time the entire time. And if you hadn't listened to that show from the 28th, I recommend that you should listen to the one that we did on the 21st so you can get the entirety of our conversation. Now, I always take pride in telling everybody that yes, I've done a show every week since I've started. New show every week since I've started, to make it even more specific. This is a different week. And instead of coming out on Saturday, it's going to come out, like I said, this April 1st, which is going to be on the calendar, I believe, a Wednesday. So it's a little early. But early's okay, right? Just know that, as scheduled, you will have your Saturday show once again on April 11th. As they say, we will continue with business as usual on April 11th. And as far as I can tell you, the consistency of the Saturday show will continue until, well, next year around April 1st, give or take, depending on what day it lands on, and who knows. Most likely, just based on the calendar, it's probably going to be on a Thursday. But even when it comes down to it, the way that I was considering doing this show was, well, I had planned on doing it on April 1st, like I try to do most of the time, but I wanted to change things up a little bit, and I thought that maybe I would let this show actually come out on April 4th instead of April 1st. So it would have just been a Saturday show, and I'd have skipped April 1st, saying that there was gonna be a show then, and that would be the April Fool's gimmick. But then I decided, nah, not this year. Maybe next year. Who knows? So as long as we keep this show going all that time around for a sixth year, maybe that's something that you can put in the back of your mind. That just maybe the April Fool's show could, in fact, be on the week of April Fool's, but not actually April Fool's Day itself. We'll see. But of course, that just tells you that this episode is going to be a fact or fiction, just like they all are on April Fool's Day or thereabouts. So much fun. I really love it. But right now, I believe it's time for me to ring the bell and go into the main event of this April Fool's show. All right. For those of you who have listened to this show for the just about 5 years that it's been going, you know how the April Fool's show slash fact or fiction episodes work. For those of you who are new to the lip, and this is your first time hearing either an April Fool's episode or a fact or fiction, I can tell you two things. Number one, I would go back in both the archives here on YouTube and check out Spotify, where the lip originated. You can also find more fact or fiction and an April Fool's show here or there, and you can pretty much enjoy more of these April Fool's slash fact or fiction episodes. I love doing them. Helps my creativity. And in truth, I need to tell you how they work if you've never listened to the show before. The answers are going to be real simple as far as it goes. I'm going to read you a statement or tell you a story. And that story or statement is either going to be some fact that I experienced, watched, or did myself, or it'll be something I completely made up. Now, what I'm going to do is, once I'm finished with these stories or statements, I will then give you a little bit of time, a place where you can pause easily and try to figure it out for yourself if you want. And then I'm going to reveal which ones were fact and which ones were fiction. And I love doing it. It's one of my favorite things. Like I said, it gets the creative juices going, because some of these fiction ones are like really kind of fun. And some of the facts, well, some of them actually are stranger than fiction. But you'll be the judge of which one is fact or fiction until I tell you, and you'll also be the judge of whether or not they really are facts that are stranger than fiction. All right, it's time to begin. The first one. During this most recent storm that we had here in Philadelphia in 2026, February, this crazy winter weather that we had, I actually did a brief video letting everybody know that I was going to try to cut off the snow a little bit before it finished completely. And around 10 o'clock or so at night during that day, I believe it was February 22nd, sounds about right, I recorded myself letting everybody know that, yeah, I'm going to go start on the snow, and I showed everybody what was going on. You can check that video out on the YouTube footage that I've got here on the channel at Phil Lip. Then I decided to go and shovel. What did I shovel? I shoveled a little bit, because like I said, it was maybe about 4 inches of snow. And so I went through it, and I then recorded another episode showing everybody, hey, this is what I did, and I had removed most of that 4 inches, but the snow was still coming down pretty strong. And as a result, you could see where my efforts were futile, but not too bad. It made my life a little easier in the morning. But before I was finished and about to go back in the house, warm myself up, and then go to bed, I happened to see some kids riding a quad in the snow in the middle of the street that was still being snowed on. I get it. It's a lot of fun. Why not? All my life, I knew a lot of people who had quads, and they would drive them in the woods. And of course, every once in a while, when it snowed, they would go and do that too. But here we are. It's like 10 o'clock at night. There's still some cars driving around on the streets. Well, there's a main street not too far away from my house, and there's always cars running up and down that. And the side street can get pretty busy because it's kind of a connector street that gets you to a lot of different places. But at 10 o'clock at night, traffic is relatively slow on the side street that I kind of live on. And so these kids, there were three of them that were on this quad, which was really crazy because there were two, one driving, one riding on the quad, and the third guy was on a sled that they somehow rigged up to the back of the quad, and they were just riding up and down on the street. As they went to go turn around, there was a really, really weird thing that happened. The kid driving the quad bumped the curb, and he dumped the kid that was um, his passenger, and he hit the ground. Rolled over a couple times, and about 4 or 5 seconds later, the kid that was on the sled, who was really wasn't paying any attention because he was facing the opposite direction, ended up running over the kid that had just fallen off the back of the quad. And as a result of that, he ended up dumping off of the back of the sled. He rolled over a few times. Crazy situation. Just as I was about to go wade out into the street to see if they were okay, the kid who got ran over got up, dusted off the snow, started laughing a little bit. The kid that fell off the sled ended up holding his arm real quick, shaking it off, and then he jumped back in the sled. The other kid came back after he realized that both his passenger and the guy he was pulling fell off. Came back, picked them both up, and away they went. Do you think that I witnessed these crazy kids having a good time and then falling off of their uh, sled and the quad? Or am I just giving you a snow job here? Tell you at the end. Next one. I was pulling up into a 7-Eleven of all places. I don't go there often, but when I do, I sound like the most interesting man in the world. I prefer to get a Slurpee. Uh, while I was in there, I pulled in, got my Slurpee, on my way out, just about to get into my car, and the craziest thing happened. Dude comes into the parking lot, and you can see that his car is shaking like crazy from the front end. It's really nuts. Now, as a former mechanic, well, not really former mechanic, I would say a person who no longer works on cars, because you really can't lose the skill that you already know, right? Turns out that the guy inside the car didn't even get into a parking spot. He kind of got close to one towards the side of the building. He jumps out of the car, and then all he does is he starts looking towards his driver's side front. And I'm just curious because I saw the thing bouncing around like crazy, but I don't want to get involved because I just don't. And it turns out that the exit for me to get out of the 7-Eleven was kind of close to where he was. So I was a little nosy doing that rubbernecking thing just a little bit. As I pulled off, I kind kind of slow drove and sort of like looking out the window to see what was going on. And it turned out that, for my professional opinion, he blew out a tie rod end. Most likely the outer tie rod end. Because it turned out that his driver's front tire was heavily facing the left. And it was just about sunken inside the wheel well. So apparently he hit something, pothole or I don't know what, and blew out his tie rod end and most likely took out his ball joint too, and was lucky enough to get into the 7-Eleven before he killed himself with the tire falling off at high speed. Not a good situation to be in any way. Of course, at this point, he's at the 7-Eleven. He's going to have to get the vehicle towed to a shop because there's nothing that anybody's really going to be able to do for him while he's in the parking lot. Now, did I actually see somebody blow out their tire and tie rod end and ball joint? Or am I making it up just because it sounds like something fun to talk about? I'll let you know in a little bit. Next one. I believe the year was 2017. That sounds about right. 2017, 2018, somewhere in that range. While we were living in my mother in law's house, we had four rather large trash cans, cost around $30 to $40 each. And over a period of weeks, it turned out that the garbage men, in their infinite wisdom, were taking the garbage, dumping it inside the truck, and they threw one of my trash cans away. Now I'm down to three of these giant trash cans. A few weeks later, again, they took another one of my four garbage cans. It was gone. And then maybe a month and a half after that, I hear the garbage truck coming because I'm at home. I look out the window from my kid's room where I can see out into the alleyway where the garbage is getting picked up. As they were moving by, they go, and at this point now, I'm down to four large garbage cans. No, I had four, and now I'm down to two because they took two of them. Now, you have to understand, at this point in time, this is a serious, serious problem because I have a 5-year old, two 5-year olds, a 6-year old, and one that's about 2 or 3, somewhere in that neighborhood. Which means that I am throwing out a lot of diapers and a lot of wipes. So we really needed every single inch of those garbage cans because we just were throwing away so much garbage. It was insane. And now, while I'm looking out the window, I see the garbage man come up. He grabs the can, he dumps it, he can't get all the stuff out of the can, and I literally watch him just leave the can inside the truck and keep on rolling. Now, they're in a back alley, and I'm on at the bedroom area, which at that house, I would have had to go down one flight of stairs to get to the living room, and then a second flight of stairs to go all the way into the basement so that I could go catch up with them. So, needless to say, I didn't have enough time to catch them before they turned the corner and left. Fast forward to oh 2014, and at the house we not 2014, 2024, excuse me. At my current house right now, turns out that we decided to buy three trash cans because we don't have that many diapers, and the garbage was able to be easily taken out by those three cans and a recyclable can. Now, in 2024, it turns out that I had to put out all four of the cans, the one recyclable and the three trash cans. Come back the next afternoon after the garbage was taken up, and I'm missing a garbage can. I have my recyclable can, my blue recyclable can is still there, but one of my garbage cans is gone. Now, admittedly, because of them throwing it down and heavy garbage in there from the cat litter, two of my cans were kind of damaged, but the other one was in perfect condition, and that's the one they took. So now the cumulative total is garbage men 4, me infuriated. Now we go to 2026. I have two garbage cans and a recyclable can. And wouldn't you know that very recently, I believe it was in February of 2026, that the garbage men took another one of my garbage cans. So in total, the garbage men took 5 of my trash cans, and when I went to try to call the streets department to find out what can be done about all of these garbage cans, they tell me that, oh, it's been too long for the other three. In fact, for 4 of them, it's been too long, which doesn't make any sense. I actually called the streets department and had them send me the stuff, and I never got a response for the first 3 that they took at the other house. And so I do it again for this other 2. Am I telling you the truth about having 5 total trash cans taken by the garbage men? Or is my word as good as garbage? Let's see. Next. This one hits home very intensely because I am a chicken tender, chicken nugget kind of person, although I'm trying to eat a lot better. Turns out that whenever a fast food restaurant that hasn't had chicken tenders comes out with chicken tenders, I like to try them to see what I think of them. I tried the McDonald's chicken selects when they came out, and I was not a fan. And then they came out with new chicken tenders recently, in the last couple of years or so, and I think that if you catch them on the right day, they could be okay. Um, Burger King was one of those places that I used to enjoy the chicken tenders, and then they made chicken nuggets, and the only thing I got from those was heartburn. But Wendy's now has these chicken tenders now. They've always had chicken nuggets. And admittedly, as far as quality goes, with their chicken nuggets are probably the best nugget that you can get that actually kind of tastes like chicken. And so I had very high expectations for their chicken tenders. It turns out that very close to my house, there are one, two, is there a third one? Yeah, three Wendy's within decent proximity to my home. I figured that, well, I can just go to Wendy's and pick up a pack of those chicken tenders and do kind of the same thing I did with the chicken nuggets from KFC. Let everybody know how they are. Well, I went to the one that's closest to my house 4 times. And each time I went, they never had any chicken tenders. Then I went to the one that was in the mall area, the Philadelphia Mills Mall area, and because it was there, I figured let me see if they've got them. Sure enough, I struck out again. Almost felt like Aaron Judge on opening day this year against the Giants. For shame. He'll do better. But I was 0 for 5. I figured at this point, I don't know if I'm ever going to get these things. And you have to understand that the time span here, it's not like I went every week to go see if I could find these things. There was a point that there was literally months in between. I believe those tenders came out over the summer of 2025, somewhere in there. And I was looking to get them all that time and never did. Do you think that my quest for chicken tenders from Wendy's was really just me trying to look for the lost city of Atlantis? Or did I really struggle to try to find them? I'll let you know in a little bit. Next, I needed to give CPR to a guy in Perkins. You know, the little diner restaurant, kind of like IHOP, Wendy's, not Wendy's, Denny's. I was just minding my own business with everybody, was eating breakfast, and a guy starts clutching his chest. Now, instantaneously, when I see this, I go right to first responder CO mode, and I immediately kick it into high gear. He is just really struggling, and I don't know who the guy was. I never stopped to ask whether it was his brother or his cousin, whoever it was. But I asked him to help me put the guy on the floor, and I began compressions. And just going right away, immediately to my first aid training. It was like one of the first things we had to do was become CPR certified. And the beauty of being CPR certified is that even when your year runs out, you still know how to do the process. They do it repetitively just so that you can have a piece of paper that says you're certified. But truth be known, in the moment, all I needed to do was begin my compressions and start doing it so that this guy wasn't going to die right here, right now, in the middle of Perkins. After a few minutes, man, I kept going and going and going and going, and then I switched with the other gentleman. And like I said, I don't know if it was his brother or cousin, told him to do the compressions. I told him how to do it, watch what I was doing right before I started getting tired. I was doing it maybe about 2 or 3 minutes, and then he switched, and I checked for a pulse. And during that point in time, I could feel the pulse coming. And fortunately, the manager was real quick and acted on their training and immediately got 911 to come, and the first responders came, and the paramedics were able to finish what we started, and he was conscious by the time he left. We won the day. Saved the guy, did a good deed. Or did we? did I just make up an entire story about saving somebody's life? Or didn't I? You'll know soon enough. Finally, my freshman year of football, playing, I can't even remember what school it was. I was the nose tackle in our 3-4 defense that we were running at the time. And craziest thing happened. I got through the line and I slipped. Like, I usually never slip. I usually have great balance. But this particular time, I slipped. And upon slipping, I looked up just a little bit and I saw the quarterback of the opposing team with his hands like this. And he's moving his head left and right. And then I looked back down, and to his left was the football. And so I just slowly army crawled because he was looking for it. His team didn't know he dropped it. And I just sort of grabbed it up and recovered the fumble. Do you think that I army crawled in my freshman year to recover a fumble? Or should you throw a flag on that story? Tell you in a minute. Well, not a minute. Those are all the stories and statements that I've got for you right now. I'm going to give you a couple second pause, and then I'm going to go into telling you which ones were fact and which ones were fiction. Safe to say that that was more than enough time. And if you're really stumped, you could have hit pause by now and started thinking about it yourself, or rewinding, listening to the stories again, and seeing if you could pick out some little detail here or there that may make you think fact or fiction. But now, I'm going to give you the answers right here, right now. The first story. I watched. Is that the first story? Yeah. Excuse me. I watched 3 kids on a quad ride in the snow on the street after I had shoveled the sidewalk, and one fell off the back, got run over by a kid who was on a sled being pulled. Both of those guys were uninjured. They got up. The driver of the quad didn't realize they were gone for a second, turned back around and picked them up, and they went on their way. Well, let's start by saying there is absolute 100% documentation on my YouTube channel where I recorded the episode of me going out shoveling the night before and trying to lessen the load for how much snow I was going to have to deal with the next morning. That's out there. There's 2 videos on this channel where I'm showing you the snow before, and then I'm showing you what it looked like when I was done. 2 different videos. However, I did see 2 kids riding a quad on the street down the road. But this is where I added a little bit of a spin to it. They were not pulling a 3rd kid on the back of a sled, and the kid that was on the quad that was riding did not fall off. So, to make a long story short, and that's what it was, a story, I made up everything after the fact that the kids fell off the sled. Truth be told, everything before it, me shoveling, seeing the kids, the two kids, on the quad, that was all fact. But the falling off part, that was fiction. So truly, this story was a work of fiction. The next one, I saw a guy pull into the 7-Eleven, jump out of his car real quick, and discovered that he had blown out his tie rod end and possibly ball joint. And I rubbernecked as I was on my way out to see exactly the damage was. Well, I've seen cars ride down the road and you can tell that there was issues with them. A trained eye can recognize a car that has some steering and suspension issues. Sometimes you'll see cars sort of looking like they're floating a little bit to the left or the right because when the car is just in transit because they have poor alignment. Other times you'll see them just bounce up and down like a trampoline when the car doesn't have hydraulics because their struts are bad. Sometimes you'll see that it takes them forever to stop because their brakes are no good and their struts are worn. You can see these things. And I've seen lots of cars come to the shop that have those issues. But of course, when that happens, 99.9% of the time, when they come in with a blown ball joint or tie rod end, it's because they blew it out on something on the road and you can tell immediately that there's an issue and you usually don't get the luxury of pulling over into a parking lot. This guy would have been the luckiest man on earth to have been able to travel with it in the condition that I said it was. 9 times out of 10, whenever a car comes to the shop like that, we would have the tow truck driver put it as close to the bay door that we're going to put it in and drop it as close to inside as he can, and we would push it in the rest of the way. Turns out that story, I kind of made that one up, as in completely made it up. Never happened. Story of me over what would be somewhere in the neighborhood 10 years of the garbage men taking one trash can at a time until they have taken 5 of the trash cans that I purchased for my homes. Turning into my buddy over there, the Red Hulk, is absolutely true. Absolutely true. The streets department was notified when I lived in the other house, and I got nothing from them except for, oh, we'll reimburse you for your cans. And they sent me the paperwork, I sent it back, and I got nothing. Most recently, the last 2 trash cans that they took, I then called them up again, different house, told them about what happened at the first house, and then I told them about the 2 that they took this time, and they said that it was too late for them to do anything about the one that was taken most recently in the 2020s over here, but they would send me the paperwork so that they could reimburse me for the one that I was talking to them about that happened very recently. And I got the paperwork, I sent it in, put it in the mail. It's been about a month now. And admittedly, I haven't heard anything. My theory is my replacement trash can or a check to reimburse me for the trash cans is in the same place where my trash cans are, in some landfill somewhere. I highly doubt that I'm getting anything back from those trash cans. And I even took the opportunity to use my skills of writing reports that I learned from the Department of Corrections here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to write out my statement to them. And as professionally as I could with that background and skill that I had learned, I still believe that they're just going to throw it in the trash with my garbage cans. That was 100% a fact. Next one. I needed to perform CPR on a man at Perkins. I thought there's plenty of times where I probably should have had to do that because I saw people choking down food real quickly and to the point where I was going to maybe need to use the Heimlich maneuver. But to this date, since I became a corrections officer and learned how to do CPR and become certified for it, since 2017, I have never needed to use that skill, and I hope that I never have to. But on that same note, I hope that if a situation happens, that I am there because I have that skill to be able to use. I did not save anybody at Perkins because almost 100% if I had done that with the paramedics showing up, there might have been TV crews coming to my house and talking to me and doing a little story. And that didn't happen. Finally, I crawled on my hands and knees almost in an army crawl position to pick up a fumble when I was a freshman in high school. Well, I did say that I couldn't remember what team that I did it against. Well, if there was anything that was fiction, the fact that I said that I couldn't remember what team I did it against was clearly fiction. I did it against Toms River North. The quarterback was actually the son of one of the coaches of the varsity team. And he dropped the ball. And I grabbed it. I stood up, held the ball in the air, gave it to the ref, ran off to the sideline. I absolutely recovered a fumble that day, and it was one of my favorite plays that I had in my football career. One that I'll never forget. Along with my couple of sacks that I had and a big tackle, that's touchdown saving tackle in my sophomore year before I got hurt. One of those things that are just going to be in my mind for good. So yeah, I did in fact do that. And that's fact or fiction on this April Fool's Day. And now I'm going to ring the bell. Time to do the segments that we're going to love to do before we end the show. The good stuff outside of the main event. I guess you could say it would be the undercard. However, the main event is in the middle, so it's a little strange. But in pro wrestling, you don't always have the championship match at the end of the night. Sometimes it's the beginning. And it turns out that this time it was going to be in the beginning. First thing we're going to do is I'm going to read one of these questions from this situation that I like to call three things, one thing in common. I'm going to read it out I'm gonna see if I can figure it out within a relative time. See if you can figure it out. The three things that I've got right now are a split finger fastball, a musical key, and buy now, pay nothing till 1999. Let me read those again. A split finger fastball, a musical key, buy now, pay nothing till 1999. What do these three things have in common? Split finger fastball, buy now, pay nothing till 1999. Musical key. Hmm. I know nothing about music as far as playing notes, so that's not going to help me. I need to try to connect the other two. A split finger fastball. It's obviously a pitch. That's it. It's a pitch. That's 100% the answer. It's a pitch. It's gotta be a pitch. Split finger fastball is a pitch. Buy now, pay nothing till 1999 is a sales pitch. And a musical key would be a pitch. That's what it's gotta be. And yes, they're all pitches. Got it. Ha! Clean, I got it. Nice. Can't ask for better than that. Boom, pulled that one off real easily. Next is a question from the book that I just love to answer. And what do we got here? Another easy one. Speaking of a softball, or better yet, a beach ball coming at me, I am going to answer this one. What is your favorite restaurant? The answer is so simple to me. My favorite restaurant is the place that makes my favorite food, which is pizza. And the best pizza that I've ever had in my entire life is Capone's in South Toms River, right outside of Toms River High School South. It's got the very best pizza. The brick oven pizza, their traditional regular pizza, is intensely amazing. Their Sicilian pizza is over the top good. Their pasta is ridiculous. They make incredible fries of all things, man. They don't do anything wrong except for not be open 24 hours of the day. It's the only problem they have, that they're not open all day, every day. Capone's, South Toms River. It's the best pizza you will ever have. It really is. Now, it's time for the Spear of the Week. And without question, the only thing that I could possibly use for the Spear of the Week this week would have to be those garbage men. Man, how in the world could they have taken 5 of my trash cans over a period of like 10 years? Like, that's it's literally every 2 years they're taking one of my trash cans. Like every 2 years. I can almost expect that in 2027, next year, I can almost expect them to take my last garbage can, because they're working on it. Like every 2 years they look for one and they go get it. It's just madness to me, absolute madness. And like I said, those cans that we had at the other house that we were staying at, my mother-in-law had purchased two. No, she had two, and I bought two more to create four because of all the garbage that we were creating. And then Here, we had to buy all new trash cans, and I had to buy three and then a recyclable can. So, quite literally, I ended up buying those two cans. No, because I had to replace the one. So, I bought three cans for that place, which were $30 each. So, that was $90. And then these garbage cans here were even more expensive. They were $40 each, 120. So, what literally like $210 worth of garbage cans, thanks to them. Thanks a lot. And if I see even a nickel for any of those garbage cans that I lost, I will be in absolute gratitude. But I don't expect to. I really don't. So the garbage men, you're the spear of the week. And now it is the time that I least like, and that is the time to end the show. It was fun here on this April Fool's Day doing Fact or Fiction one more time. Of course, when it comes to the April Fool's episode, I don't count that episode as numbered fact or fiction. So when the time comes for the next fact or fiction, it'll have a number, and this one will not be amongst that number. I want to thank Mr. Patrick Houston and his wife Yolanda for allowing me to do that show with Patrick at their home. Thank you, Miss Yolanda, for allowing me to borrow your husband for 3 hours and some change. I know he works really hard and he does a lot of stuff, and you let me have him for a little while during the time that he is just about to come free so that you could do whatever you need to do. I thank you for letting me borrow him for that time. And of course, Mr. Patrick, I thank you for a great conversation as always. Now, you can always check me out on Instagram at Philip Henderson 5102. Um, Facebook, the Lip Facebook group. Join us. Join us. There is always room for one more. Um, Most importantly, I need you to like and subscribe to this channel at Phil the Lip. Check out my other content. I have some other stuff that I still have to put out there. Like I have another Madden play that I got to put out there, for example. That's going to be there. It's going to all be great stuff, and you'll enjoy it. And of course, I should start talking up this now because I think that I want to put it in your minds that it's going to be there. Now, you see, these episodes that I've been doing recently are very, very comforting and fun and interesting. I think, I hope you all think the same. But every person has a dark side. There's always things that they've done or they've thought about or just subjects that are not so much lollipops and rainbows. And I'm thinking about it, and I've been working on it for maybe a few weeks now, where I'm about to put a spin on what I do. It's not necessarily going to take over the lip itself. No, it's going to be a darker version. I'm going to do an episode a month of a darker version where I'm going to tell you what you probably have heard before, where I've said that I've got plenty of stories that I just don't want to tell. I'm going to tell a few of those stories, but I'm only going to tell them once a month because, like I said, they're darker stories. And for the record, I'm actually going to put a restriction on those stories. They're not going to have access to kids. They're not going to be on the kids menu. It's going to only be for those 18 and older. I'm going to put it on that because some of the subject matter could be, well, for lack of a better word, darker. And on that note, it's time for the words of wisdom. And the words of wisdom would be very simple this time. considering that this is one of those um, April Fool's episodes, I simply have to say be aware of what you are hearing and of what you're seeing, because sometimes it's not what it appears. My name is Phil, and you've just listened to The Lib.
That was easy.